Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves an album from an act named NinémiA titled Weapons of Math Destruction. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the album on Spotify. Now this is going to be a long video, as album is an hour 10 with 10 tracks, so these are some long tracks. I do like their music though. I have listened to and reviewed Astrofield, so it'll be cool to hear their work in a wider context. But without further ado, we're going to listen through each of these 10 tracks from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Starting with Psychotropic Plague, track number 1. Kind of funky off the bat, isn't it? That transition from the filtering at the start into the full bore with the distorted guitars with a bit of kind of rotary reverb on the leads there with the bass and drums was just really smart. It's a nice way to intro things. I mean, it's just such a fantastic flurry of different vocal stylings there. I like the charisma of the singer on this track, as well as the great amount of range we have with our different percussive rhythms and grooves on the kit there. Really articulate with the way we're phrasing those 16th note fill and snare patterns. And harmonies up top. The chants are a nice change of pace. And double time. Time to kill a Psychotropic Plague. We were talking about fighting for our rights before. I need more context from the story at this point, but it's fascinating. It's a really strong start. And the guitarists as well are exhilarating. And prog. And turntablism. stop living in fear. Those like chants though, like kind of the trouble. Like, I love those melodies as a foil to the vocal fry and those harmonized melodies in the choruses. I think it's wonderful. Kind of gives it a spiritual outer world kind of feel. And that did you hear that? Where that pinch harmonic there? That was so clean. Well impressed. I adore it. I think that just trying to get my mic in the right position, you know? It's one of those things when you're a music reviewer, is you gotta get your mic in the right place. Psychotropic Plague is a fantastic introductory track for an album because I think it tells you a few things. One, it tells you that they can really play their instruments. Like the guitar work, the drums as well were ferocious and, you know, damn near virtuosic. It was tremendous how tight those grooves were. But it was also simultaneously the ability to just really, like with those blast beats and like the freneticism of like the double kicks with the shred there, but also the restraint and control there with the lead voicing on the guitar. We weren't just playing quickly for the sake of playing quickly. We had these really chunky, really heavy sounding guitar riffs there in the rhythm section, but with also quite melodic in other bits. So I had a lot of different guitar riffs strewn throughout. There were lots of different pathways and progressions taken there. We came down to some bits with some synth and keys and stuff like that and took those guitars away entirely to be able to appreciate the drum work, like the cymbal patterns and the bass and stuff like that. The chorus lines are anthemic in this track as well. The vocals were on point, really satisfied with how they expressed themselves. And I think that it's just a tremendous effort on the part of all the people within this band already. Like, basically the TLDR is that I think that this is an act where you listen through Psychotropic Plague and you can kind of understand how they justify having longer pieces. There is no filler in this. There's a little bit at the end here where it kind of peters out. Wow, wow. You get this kind of synthy airiness there. It makes you wonder what's going next. So we're going to allow it to play through after this. I'm not just going to skip to the same tracks. I have a feeling they're intersecting each other. But I just want to say, what do I think this track is about? We talk about the elitists and stuff like that and standing up for your rights. And like not allowing your sort of life to be forfeit and stuff like that. So maybe we're talking about fighting back against the people who are whatever is causing your downfall. Is it like a general message? Is it specifically aimed at someone? Is it something that will sort of open up more about as we go through this album? I have questions, but I like the fact that it's not too sort of focused at this point. I like that you can open it to a diffuse sort of possibilities there. It allows for a wider kind of retention of people. If you make things too sort of niche, it can kind of square things off a little bit. I'm rambling, I think. The production is tight. This is an album which has definitely earned its definitely earned its listens, you know. Like you could see 5-figure plays on these tracks. It's dope, man. They're a great band. We've got the Acquired Savant with Derek Sherinian, track number 2. So we'll play again from where we were before with Psychotropic Plague. It's just an interesting unconventional guitar riff as well. We're not just sticking to majors and minors, right? Great change of pace here. Sorry, I will go back a little bit so I can appreciate the verse, but it's just having like 3 times through a riff as opposed to the typical 2 or 4 or 8 that we have here. There's not even numbers of things. It kind of cuts away. It's almost kind of proggy, very creative. You know, it averts expectations for a lot of listeners who are used to things being in sort of even numbers of goes through. Various different moods we've had within 50 seconds as well. They're just exuberant. It's just such a wide, different amount of sort of vibes, I suppose, and aesthetics that niche, you know, effortlessly into one another. Oh yeah, I said I'd go back, didn't I? So we'll go, Here we go. And the percussion is just so tight with those galloping grooves. It's just so much fun to listen to. This is why metal is one of my favorite genres of music, and I've got to kind of rein in my biases as a reviewer when I talk about this kind of music. To be fair, it's not that I like all the metal that comes through, to be fair, but there's just so... I just love how it's kind of a big old picture book, and each different page has a new sort of fanciful, interesting article to sort of read through and get engaged in and be enveloped by these wonderful vocal harmonies here, melodies. The softness, or like the straightforward kind of clean tone of it, is a big... Well, not all the time. I know there's probably some like fresh bits. We started with the vocal fry, I think, in that verse, harmonized with some sort of like clean bits. It's just... There's so much range to it. And then we just insect back to this sort of drop tune and sub drops. We had turntablism as well in the previous track. I didn't mention now it's Psychotropic Plague. There's just so much going on. Great trade-off. That was just so ferocious, wasn't it, with those blast bits at the end there? Was that a key solo, actually? Let's just go back a little bit. That was a key solo. Tremendous. And layering on top. And of course with distortion, man. That distortion, I understand kind of how they managed to do that. Like, there is so many tricks being done here with bits of automation and stuff like that to kind of screw with the waveforms and sort of exaggerate things over time. Nah, man, come on. Woo. Glorious. And that tempo shift as well. I mean, the tremolo work there. And it just finishes like that abruptly, like, holy crap. I think the thing to understand about the Acquired Savant, similar to my experience with Psychotropic Plague, is that there are about a half dozen different sections in this that could be its own song. We had some sort of anthemic, almost kind of power, not power mesh, but like kind of melodic metal kind of stuff, and we had some black metalish kind of frenetic blast beats, some sort of proggish kind of keyboard soloist stuff going on there. We had some interesting, the vocalist, like the vocal fry parts, they kind of remind me of the Pantera vocalist from like their albums there. And I think that, I mean that as a compliment. There's just the graspiness and a gruffness to it that really, it manages to pitch itself through the mix really well in the arrangement. I think that vocal fry, when done well, can be distinctive yet also palatable. And even though this is on kind of the harsher end, I kind of dig it. I think that it's really well handled. Not in the sense that it's like kind of grindcore, like, ooh, that kind of stuff, but like just it peaks, man. And coupled with the clean vocals, again, just a track that generally just completely just loaded with different guitar riffs, bass grooves. Again, the key solo, which I thought was wonderfully phrased there. It wasn't just all the notes per second. Like, there was layering and varying intensities of note choices and stuff like that, and we're very comfortable within our scale shapes and modes. By the by, I'm pretty sure they were using, I'm not sure which mode they were using, but I'm pretty sure they were using, there's a very interesting arpeggio kind of chord that they were making with that first part there. It's definitely not your traditional triads. It's great that we're experimenting with different types of triads or potentially extensions there to avert expectations and create different moods to the black and white aesthetic that we get with a lot of like rock and metal and just across most genres nowadays. Even with the the adoption of Seventh Spy, like even in pop music now, it's just nice to work with like sus4s or like, you know what I mean. It's just nice to mess with different, have as many colors in your palette as you can. The filtering work, before that big blast beat section there, like are in like the 4-minute mark, because there's just so much going on there. It was wonderful. I haven't heard like that, but as soon as I could hear the rumbling of the percussion, and it was just fury, man. It was just with the vocals on top. It was wonderfully niched, and I adore not only the way that it was performed, but also the quality of audio studio production here. It's very tight. Like I'm really impressed. And what do I think the Acquired Savant is about? I'm not entirely sure. He talks about like seeing the truth through his eyes or something like that, or being burned into or something like that. There's fight. So maybe he's having to fight for that truth or something like that, or maybe people are telling him to fight and he's not actually supposed to. There was also talks about crucifixion later on. Maybe he's having to fight, but he's been crucified for his beliefs or something like that, or maybe he's going to crucify someone else. I'm not entirely sure. I'd probably need a few more listens to this, but nonetheless, very, very invigorating. We've got Same Old Story though, track number 3, and I'm not sure specifically what. Just as a closing, I'm not sure what Derek Sherinian did in this, but if it was the key solo, tremendously well done. This is the shortest track on the album at 4 minutes. Oh, this has lyrics. Hey, lyrics, nice. Did you hear those natural harmonics? Just the little bits of fun sort of glimmer and little bits of decoration there, dude. Like, the thing I like about this band, though, is that even though we have some really insane instrumental sections here with just a lot of stuff going on, dun da 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 dun da da da, we have these core rhythm riffs, these grooves there. They're just so sexy. Like, it's just bum ba ba da bum. But you can move to it, and nod your head to it, and be very like, it's satisfying to listen to. There's a primal instinct there to want to sort of connect with the flow of those notes going through the guitar, bass, and drums. The way that they're so so tight, and the synergy between them and the chemistry between the band members involved there, and just how well it's played with the relative simplicity. It's all the more catchy, and just especially with the charisma of the vocal performance there, and just the tightness of stuff in the mix. It's really positive, man. I adore the fact that we know when to keep it simple, when to pocket, and then when we need to go, we know when to go absolutely insane. So what are we going to have for the next 1 minute 20? I mean, how do you even respond to this? Wait, are those woodwinds on the side there? Have we had a guitar solo and then we're talking about going back to the earth and stuff like that, like taking a step back from the earth? We have the woodlands, like the forest sounds and stuff like that on the sides. An upper with the harmonics there. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this is NinémiA's effort to make more of a singly kind of single, like a shorter form track there that's a bit more bite-sized and easy to chew on for people who are not used to the longer stuff that they release. When you look at the lyrics here, man, madness toils, friction is side of me, seal path to dementia. Come hither sleep as heaven weeps and my griefs unfold. Super bystander devolution and a digital waste. Are we talking about like social media and grab it, click it, fix it, share it? Your final solution to be the killing hand. Are we talking about social media and the way we interact with each other and how instantly stuff can just completely go to shit, and how, you know, like the moment we don't sort of stay on top of it, stuff goes down, and we'll kind of, it's always the same old story, getting back to people kind of overstepping the boundaries a little bit, whether it's technology based or not. Is that the kind of vibe? But I think either way, it's again, like a lot of those Pantera influences I'm hearing in that like verse section, with like the kind of the growl, the kind of the thrash parts, and then like the kind of woo, those parts as well. It's dope. I like that those like lower parts on the sides of the stereo field as well, as opposed to the center. You kind of got that going backwards and forwards kind of thing going on there. The guitarist distortion parts were catchy as hell, man. They were nice, great to groove around to. It was like groove metal. The drums were nice and tight as well. Fantastic array of different 8th, 16ths, and triplets, with the bass being nice and tight on the low end as well. And double tracking is slick as well with the studio side of things. And it's just that solo section we had later on was just absolutely tremendous. I adore the fact that we had that restraint to wait until that point to really let loose, but when we did, there was no holding back. Yeah, it's definitely that kind of, it's more sort of a typical single where you have like the solo and like the later stage of it, but they just blasted that out of the path. So I've got track number 4, Dust to Stars. Back to the 6-minute, 7-minute tracks, but that's okay. All right, and the bassist in this band has a 6-string bass. So if you hear something that sounds like a bass, like a guitar solo-ish kind of thing, but it's like a bass, it is a 6-string bass. Tremendous. Great switch to cleans. Fantastic use of unison notes and bends with the lead guitars to stay with the vocals there. Tremendous. Ooh. Was that a parallel minor there? Great choice there for an unconventional chord there. Okay, smart. So that's like a triplet. That's 6/8, isn't it? 1 and 2 and 3, and yeah, there we go. So switching time signatures now as well. Nice. Iteration back to the main motif at the start. Was that a theremin? Because if it was, that was a fun solo section I wasn't expecting. But when we've got a song where I think we're talking about literally, it's like an awakening of some kind, maybe something to do with the Acquired Savant. But I like the imagery of Dust to Stars, like especially with the art that you've got. If I remove the listening time thing, and I remove the logo, you can just see up here that art's really beautiful. It's got like the Statue of Liberty, I think, over in the States, and it's like a skeleton or something like that. I like the beauty of like space and the references to that and stuff like that, though. I think it's cool. It's fun music, man. I dig it. I've just realized I've gotten rid of that again. Let's continue. Oh, and strings. Okay, we're holding on it. Okay. If I'm honest, like I haven't had an album within this genre kind of affect me like this since I listened to the original Periphery album back in 2010, 2011. It was like close enough to this genre. I know it's not fair to compare bands. I think that just this track was gorgeous. I loved that part where we went down and there was kind of this kind of sweepy sound. And amongst the various instruments going on there, it was a bit more low key. We stayed there. Was the violins, that the strings that were like a newer instrument? I don't think we've had the strings so far in this album up until now. They were new, and because things were a bit softer, they made more sense at that point. It wasn't competing against the harsh textures of the distorted guitars at full bore, or the bass, or the drums. You know, you just had that lull there. You know, as a person looks at the black hole that came from that war and the universe unfolding for them and stuff like that, and realizing that, okay, I think getting involved in that conflict was just not worthwhile, or I need more context. Each of these tracks has enough of a story in them that you probably need a couple of listens to really kind of get the hang of it. It seems like this is more like a kind of a self exploration or like an awakening kind of track there, maybe based on various stuff we talked about. You know, maybe we've been leading up to this moment. And I just think it was absolutely stunning, you know. We had less of the crispiness and the guttural kind of stuff from previous tracks. This was more of a measured response. I really liked how the vocals tried to harmonize and the leads kind of stayed in sync rhythmically, as well as, you know, either octave or at pitch with the vocals. And just ultimately, I don't know how they could have done better than this. I just think it was a great use of the 6 minutes 40. But we have, after this, the longest track I have reviewed in quite a while. This is Weapons of Mass Destruction, the self-titled off of this album. Also, nice fade out at the end of Dust to Stars, but this track is 11 minutes 40.
Assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to figure that first part. So we had Martin Luther King at first, talking about like where the hatred comes from and stuff like that, and like talking about those issues of like people, like enemies and all that kind of stuff. Actually, let me go back a little bit and listen through that.
Fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjust.
Yeah, so we're talking about fear, and then I think that like fear is fear itself, unreasoning, etc. And then we talked about the attack on Pearl Harbor and everything like that, and the need to sort of like fight back from that, I suppose.
Empire of Japan.
Kind of tying those two together, if that makes sense. I mean, you gotta appreciate the fact that we have had 1 minute 40 of a track after a vocal sample. It's a couple. A lot of music at this point would have reverted to like a verse or like the singer coming in and kind of taking over the reins. But we are happily just investing our time into creating this instrumental performance. I'm vibing for it, man. Oh, I see.
Wherever they may live, a citizen is real, and therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the word. As a free man.
It's just such a fantastic ground bed for all these different quotes over time. They like, if you looked at each of these riffs individually, at first glance, if you're uninitiated, you might not know how exactly to link them together. And it's not like we're going through crazy chord key changes or anything like that. It's just, there's just these push and pulls of like half time and then double time and stuff like that. And then just, it's ferocious, but we somehow managed to discuss politics and how humans interact with each other in their own country on top of that. I think it's dope.
As a free man, I take pride in the word. As a free man, I take pride in the word. As a free man, I take pride in the word. Ich bin ein Feeling. Ich bin ein Feeling. I take pride in the word. Ich bin ein Feeling. Ich bin ein. Ich bin.
There's one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable. If you seek peace, if you seek prosperity, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate.
And guitar solo now. That was like tapping, like that was like tap. Yeah, I know that kind of lead playing. It's wonderful. I don't think we've really had a lot of tapping in this album so far. I could be mistaken, but just switching it up like that for this track is cool.
General Secretary Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
mean, like, to be fair, it is a completely different beast to what we've had previously. This is more focused on statements they're making from different politicians and political sort of figures over the years. It's less lyrically or sort of like structured, or you're kind of putting the piece of the puzzle together, I suppose, and you get the conclusion at the end. Whereas other tracks, you've kind of had a lot more of it kind of front up. I can understand why 11 minutes 40 might be quite a bit for people, but I figure that if you're at this point of the album, you know they can play, man. You know they can write. I hope this gets us, a lot of love. Oh, we're getting demonic with those bits. That was pitch shifted, I think. Nice solo, well done. That's a wild ride. This is very surreal. Woo! Woo-hoo! Oh man. Keeps ascending.
2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait.
It is the same old story, isn't it? It is the same old story, S.O.S.
These attacks continue as I speak. Ground forces are not engaged. Tonight, the battle has been joined. 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 Ground forces are not engaged.
I mean, how do you write a piece like this? No, I'm serious. Like, how did they figure this out?
War is to know that there is still madness in this world.
I mean, like, what do you even really say to that? This track, it's one of my favorite pieces of music is Opeth's Goes to Perdition. Like, I love that song to pieces. It's kind of similar to this in a certain well, no, it's not similar to this. It's quite different. It's more like it's very different. I shouldn't say that. Just lengthwise, like there is a bit of a similarity where Goes to Perdition is around about 10 minutes. This is about 11:40. I'd say despite their differences, I think that they're both... How do I describe this? This sounded like an 11-minute 40 long jam session between people who just... They knew all the riffs the other person was thinking. There was some mind reading going on. We went through 15 to 20 different aesthetics while simultaneously keeping the mood similar. Like, we had different shifts between different feels, like half time, double time, and normal time. We had an inexplicable proficiency on the kit as well as the guitar playing. We knew when to go down for power chords and octaves, but then we would shrivel like the tippy-tappy bits and stuff like that. We had wonderful lead phrasing and such. It was harmonic and very pretty at times, but also had kind of a bluesy rock, kind of like a groovish nature to it. Alongside some of the other tracks earlier in the album, the combination of different grooves on the drum kit with guitar and also the bass solos, because we had bass solos within this. The bass work was fantastic. I really appreciated the parts there. You might have seen me be quite impressed, and I don't really react in these videos often unless I hear something that kind of really wows me. Hearing the tightness of the guitar with the bass there, the way they were kind of keeping up with each other there and kind of dancing along was wonderful. I mean, I didn't really get that part around 8 minutes where like the voices going backwards and forwards. I'm wondering if that was potentially to do with referring to like opening the gate and then like destroying the wall and stuff like that, like letting all the things in, all the voices and souls and stuff like that. Maybe the realization of what the situation is with people getting kind of brainwashed into thinking whatever the government wants them to think and stuff like that, and that, you know, the fear of like terrorists and stuff allowing them to sort of like invade and stuff. There's a lot of statements being made within this track specifically without a singer singing. I have to appreciate the band putting in that effort to creating a piece which is more of like a statement piece than anything. They created an 11-minute 40 long track that was simultaneously just really instrumentally impressive, whilst also like performatively. They just absolutely smashed the concept of like every single riff went seamlessly into the other. There was dynamic range throughout. Lots of different ideas within the various sort of like major, minor, and bluesy kind of scale shapes there. There were chromaticisms as well, I'm sure. We had very... It was great. Like, I need more time with it to really sort of completely calibrate. But we're not lacking for anything. And again, it was just really still a production on top. I'm going to go and stretch my legs for a moment as I've been recording for an hour at this point, and I'll be back in a moment for tracks 6 to 10. And we continue with track number 6, titled The Grand Grimoire. It's an 8-minute piece, but that's cool, man. So good. Spooky. and how it flickers around the headphones, you know, with the lead guitars. Just such a seamless transition with the lick and the pitch shifting and the wah pedals and stuff like that. Going into the vocals here. There's no points to pause and talk about the music because there's no filler, there's very few gaps, and when there are, it's deliberate because there's something you need to pay very close attention to. See, that was funky. We didn't just have a typical even like major or minor or even like a harmonic or melodic minor there. We went to some major notes in that last part. We kind of shifted things a little bit and it got a bit whimsical. The Grand Grimoire, the way they were not trying to... Yeah, are we using the Dorian mode or something like that? Are we using a minor with some sort of sassiness going on? Because that's that new element there. Some different type of sound has been included in this new piece there. That pitch shift pedal, that wow, you know, we haven't had that before. Like with the Acquired Savant, for example, having the keyboard solo, which is something we didn't have in the previous track. We are trying, I think, not only lyrically, but also instrumentally, just trying to add little differentiators to kind of help separate them. solo time. It's just, it was nice to have the dun 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 dun, those kind of grounded rhythm guitars, the bass, drums and guitar with the vocals on the side there, with the sort of dusty sounding guitar as like a contrast to it, kind of floating a little bit and then bam, back down, little micro changes. Incredible. That's wonderful. Like that really interesting rhythmic phrasing with the lead sections. It wasn't just that we had a lot of notes and we had twos and fros and kind of push and pulls. It was also just that we had like kind of a spontaneity to it that made it more intriguing. So is that like 9/8 or something like that? Wonderful. And a little bit of sort of vinyl crackle to finish things off. Kind of charming, really. What do I think the Grand Grimoire was about? Well, I mean, after Weapons of Math Destruction, where it talked about the world kind of repeating the same mistakes and using its power, the power of fear over the people within itself and kind of manipulating them to do what you want because you know they'll be scared and you're trying to get them to do what they can for you rather than it for you. Like, the kind of the bastardization of that stuff. The Grand Grimoire, is it like... I think I caught some parts of talking like an understanding or like making sense of the world and stuff like that, like a world of reason. I was sort of going more in the direction of the kind of wizarding and like making sense of science and everything like that and going against magic, but then like there being a sense of wonderment or like danger from the things we have in the great unknown. Is that it? Like, I'm not quite sure. I didn't get enough of the lyrics through clearly to like, I couldn't really hear the words clearly. And like the harmonized lady vocals on the sides, and I'm not sure what language they were speaking in those quieter vocal parts in the lower range. I didn't get those through clearly either, but either way, I'm gonna take it at face value and say that it's about like a magic book or something like that, and kind of relate it to From Dust to Stars and everything like that, and our journey finding the truth and sort of like trying to sort of get to the point where we sort of stand up for ourselves and make the most of the journey that we're on. I think that the guitar, bass, and drum performances in this are wonderful. Again, I appreciate the fact we had a pitch shifter fiddle on the guitar there to help things go wow, kind of to switch between the octaves there. It was a nice legato-ish kind of phrasing or device there that added a new sound to what we've already got within our existing toolset. And I like that was trying to find different tones to experiment with and have fun with. I like that, because the last thing you want is to have a bag of tricks and run out halfway through an album. I think that, the 8 minutes was well spent. There was no filler in it whatsoever. Some tracks within this album seem to have had a lot more range with their riffs than others. This one, I think we were more comfortable with a lot of the kind of discordant. But no, to be fair, we did have different ideas in this. I particularly liked when things went a bit quieter and we had like the minors sort of switch into the weird kind of major phrasing there tonally or harmonically. We had some fun ideas in here that were really kind of unpredictable and like studious, and I enjoy that. We didn't make things too predictable in regards to the instruments and the performances there. And the leveling on top was solid as per the rest of this album. The transitions between sections were seamless. And so it gives me faith that when I listen to Oppenheimer, track number 7 for today, that's also going to be good. Is this related to the Oppenheimer movie? Is the Grand Grimoire related to the destruction and chaos that has been wrought onto the world by the weapons of mass destruction as described in track number 5? Or the power of fear? It's salacious, isn't it? The sizzle of those distorted guitars. Relatively easy to follow so far. And just having like the vocals go down, like having that sort of spoken part with the bass tone in there nice and filthy in that lower range there, that bit of a pause before we continue moving forward, just to adjust things a little bit, just that attention to detail. It's great. Lord of the Flies. Destroyer of souls, destroyer of worlds. Are they the same thing? Are we coming against each other? Like, is this following on from the Grand Grimoire? Is this related to the stuff we discussed in Weapons of Math Destruction? I'm just trying to sort of tie the album together at this point. But when we switched those colorful mid-range chords there, that switch of the key signature there, boom, 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 boom. It's like a traditional chord progression that I'm familiar with, but we just had so much variety within the various progressions and riffs and sort of like percussive parts that it's okay if we do something that's a bit more sort of like how to describe it. Well, yeah, it's just basically I haven't heard a lot of familiar chord progressions within this, but like that one was one I recognized, and I like that we're using them sparingly. We're trying to make a lot of our own stuff whilst also kind of coming back to stuff that just plain works. Is that I've become Death Destroyer of Worlds? Is that a reference to like the atomic bomb or something like that? I feel very ignorant. And that means, that there is a wonderful show of strength there from the singer. We not only are really capable with our vocal fries and growls and stuff like that, but we've also got this, we've got this wonderful sort of legato technique there. We have great breath control. And it's such a colorful, really kind of charming line in amongst everything going on with the kind of wild guitar melodies and such like that. I adore it. And the sirens they sound. Oh. Sweet. Good job. Good job developing it. I mean, the drum work is ferocious. When did we have those woodwinds? We've had those woodwinds earlier in the song, haven't we? In this album, haven't we? Was it in Dust to Stars? Letting it fade out. What I like about this band as well is they're not afraid to just let a track just kind of sit there for a moment, giving you time to absorb what's been presented before you and then come up with a kind of understanding of it. I think Oppenheimer, with the quote from I think Oppenheimer themselves, we're talking about, you know, the use of weapons and like Lord of the Flies. I assume people kind of like rolling like over a false earth and stuff like that. When I know that Lord of the Flies, I remember Lord of the Flies being like, it's like a movie, isn't it? You know, a movie about like kids on an island or something like that, and they end up like killing each other or something like that. I could be tripping, but I get the feeling that this is about using weapons and creating like this kind of reality where like you're in control, but maybe the weapons are overtaking you, and like only believing in one god or something like that. So I suppose it's not allowing idolatry to occur, not being overpowered by those that want to sort of crush you, kind of going back to Psychotropic Plague a little bit, tying back to that. Yeah, I think it's basically commenting on people making death machines, you know, like for the sake of making fear and creating it, but lying about who the fear is coming from or what people should be afraid of and like the manipulation, everything that people go through and stuff like that. There's more to it than that. I know there is, but that's kind of my take on like a first listen basis. And I'm in a track like that filled with lots of grooves were strong. We're getting a sense of consistency and familiarity with the way we're playing these rhythm parts on the guitar there, the riffs, the power chords, some of the interesting melodic passages there, the single string stuff, with the bass line and the low end kind of capitulating to those root notes a lot of the time, even though the guy can clearly shred on the bass. The drums with some almost, that'd be 16th or like 32nd note parts on some of those kicks and snares, the triplets. It's just tremendous. It's just so quick. What I think the highlight for me was that we took our time. Da, 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 da. We had lovely vocal control there. I love the clean parts in this song, and I just thought that it was nice to also have bits of space there, to have some of the talky talks that we have with in the Math Destruction with Oppenheimer's like quotes over top, but in a way that was still musically sound. I couldn't get all the words through clearly, mind you. I don't know whether that's like a thing with the mix or it's just that the file that Oppenheimer was like talking through was kind of like it was a bit difficult to discern what was coming, but there were some parts that I recognized, and maybe just because I knew it, I could hear what was going on. But either way, 9 minutes very well spent. It was nice to again have just another well-constructed piece of music. But we'll continue from there, from Oppenheimer there, to Selma, track number 8, I suppose. Track number 8. I mean, I wasn't really fair to the lead work in Oppenheimer, to be fair. Like, we had the lovely woodwinds in Oppenheimer, which were just wonderful. There was a beauty to the way those were carried across. I think they were a callback to a previous part of the album as well. But it was also the lead parts with the kind of the tapping bits kind of returning there. And just finding ways to sing in at a slightly sort of more subtle, low-key texture is just dope. And slides. Can you hear how like the vocals are in time with that da 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 that lead guitar line in the back? They're that unison there, reinforcing them in a way where the backing is interacting with the mains. It's just the little things and like that you appreciate, right? Is that the first offbeat pattern we've had throughout this entire album? It's with the open hi-hats on the ends, right? Is that the first? Have they managed to put yet another new thing into this album at this point, spice things or spruce things up? I like that. That kind of dance, just kind of groove there. It works nicely in sync with what's going on with the eighth note grooves. Yeah, I like that. It's nice. It's well handled. Cool, nice use in there. Ah, cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The saxophone? That works really well with the offbeat groove. It was just such a vibe shift. I think that's the first time in this entire album I've been like genuinely like, I don't know. I mean, the set's still cool though. Man, that was a trippy situation with Selma. That was a trippy one. I was not expecting that saxophone solo at the end. What do I think this track is about? I suppose I'd comment on like the pick me up, build me up, like beat me down kind of thing situation, where if we're going with people being taught to fear things and being manipulated and sort of screwed around, and their eyes not necessarily being opened up to the truth yet, or maybe this is something the person's saying about this experience there. It's just talking about people bringing you up to kind of slap you back down. I'm wondering if that's just the kind of dance that they're discussing in everyday life, and a lot of this album is trying to get away from that. I wonder if that kind of goes back to Psychotropic Plague, where we talk about, you know, like not wanting to kind of standing up for ourselves and not allowing our life to be forfeit and stuff like that. It's talking about our current existence, but then like kind of wanting to get out of that and kind of break away from it. Like we talk about being on the footsteps of giants and like following the piper and everything like that. About people kind of being led by the nose to a place they might not necessarily want to end up. I do think that the vocal harmonies we had throughout a lot of this were really gorgeous. We had, again, a tremendous lead passage in the outro chorus on the guitar, which is nice and subtle on that right side, but it was just kind of, it was furious, and it was kind of, it was incredibly active and as a sub layer, and I kind of enjoy where it was placed. The drums were, as usual, like on point. The bass in a similar fashion there. We had even like kind of a sort of a freshy little kind of bassy number later on, which is kind of dope. I like when the bassist has their own sort of time to shine and is allowed to sort of space in the mix on top of, like, again, sticking with the root notes, try to sort of reinforce those triads. But after that kind of sort of dance-ish kind of offbeat groove, and with the saxophone solo that we had, it makes me wonder what we're going to have next. It really does. We've got 2 tracks left though. Now, full disclosure, I have reviewed Astrofield before. It'll be good to hear it again. But then we also have Fool, and then we are finished. I have enjoyed my time with this album, though, to be fair. I do remember how peaceful this intro guitar riff was, though. And I'm pretty sure this is a 6-string bass solo. I could be wrong though. Pretty sure it is. Harmonics.
Beyond belief, I seek new ways to cultivate my sorrow. Tomorrow is another day. Live on an endless dream. I'm making smiths, returning things I borrow. My body's by the vessel to me. Don't take it away now, don't take away my right.
I mean, like, it's just so gentle with these guitars and all the different lead sort of like arpeggiated patterns there, you know. It's not just that we understand how to play the chords and how to sort of play the individual strings, is that we're making a little sort of, there's some extra lead parts on top of those.
I live for the mileage, don't take away my ride.
And the throat singing.
Set your notion in fire. Rise up and no desire.
I mean, it's poetry, isn't it? I love the lyrics about the fingertips trying to sort of like going through the Astrofield and touching them, and like you can kind of imagine that occurring. You can kind of imagine the guy going through space, kind of interacting with this stuff. I dig it. I know there's more to it than that, but having agency. Tremendous. I mean, just like the visceral nature of that vocal fry after saying he's being relieved from pain in that Astrofield. It's almost like all the stuff we've been going through up until this point is to get to that Astrofield, I suppose. To get that escape. And the woodwinds, the flutes. Such as we had in Oppenheimer, maybe? I mean, the chorus on the guitars combined with the pan flutes is just absolutely divine. So again, with this being a track I've listened to before, I think it's about someone who has gotten to that place where they are finally managing to avoid the pain and suffering they've been having, potentially on the mortal plane, or just in regards to their own life that they used to live. They've found this new endeavor, this outlet, and they're trying to find a way around all the precedents that have been set with like the weapons of mass destruction stuff. They're trying to ignore all the outside kind of instructions to kind of be and act a certain way. And they're trying to find their own sense of individuality and peace within the cosmos. And I kind of dig that. I think that's a beautiful message there. Trying to sort of like find your own way, you know, and find your own right, and not to allow yourself to be burdened by others. You know, even if it's painful, it's what if it's what you got to do, it's what you got to do. You know, like I like it. This track was far less severe with the harshness of like the distorted guitars and stuff like that in previous tracks. Like there would have been some real raucous parts with like the craziness of the different sort of like riffs and scale shapes, melodies, etc. This one was more balladesque. And I appreciate the fact that we tried to simplify things to make a track that was a bit more sort of like rounded like that. The guy can sing, the singer of this band. Like they really have fantastic pipes, and so they can handle whether it's the more hardcore stuff or this where they're spending most of the time with that clean phrase in there, with a bit of vocal fry near the end to kind of tie everything nice and lean into a bow. Because I think it would have been a little bit. I think it was okay to have a bit of spice to this piece, you know. But I think that the wonderful array of different lead guitar phrasings there with lots of different sort of intersecting lead parts here, guitars recorded different takes, modulating and kind of rubbing up against each other and creating these wonderful sort of playful kind of intonations there with a very somber tone with the chorus and stuff like that at the same time. We had the bass solo at the start, which was also tremendous with the kind of the heavily reverb guitars on the side there was very incredibly atmospheric, and when things came in with the really kind of soothing, soft and palatable drum bass parts, you simply had the guitars after that, and things just built from there. They crescendoed, and I'm really satisfied with that. We have a song where they understood to develop it carefully. They rose up as they went along. But then again, that's a given. That's unsurprising considering this is a band where throughout the entirety of this album they've shown they know how to write a piece of music and string it together and make it so that you enjoy your time with it. They clearly know what they're doing. It's a risky move having a ballad this late into an album, I think. But I think maybe it's just to show the chaos of what might have come beforehand is led to this moment where they kind of feel finally okay with everything. Track number 10 for today from NinémiA off of this Weapons of Mass Destruction album. I love it, man. It's a really great record. They ought to be proud of themselves. Oh, I get it. And those ghost notes on the little ghost notes on those snares, man, they're divine, man.
I've never chosen to be, yet I'm drawn into eternal. Silence whispers to me, a joy of sorrow runs to fall. Fall on your knees and cry to a God unwondered, spirit unfolded. Can't you see you're made of? My time is stormed and weaving thoughts. The tipsy eye is brighter than light.
It was cool having the vocals kind of layer on top like that with a different high pass filter. That was dope.
They've been a proud of some
And different panning in the stereo field.
mighty and dreadful for the one not so.
Okay, double time, cool. And just that dynamic range. Going quiet like this is nice.
All that time I've wasted in false pride comes back haunting me, streaming down my
Nice, fantastic development here. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's an unusual way to finish an album. And that's the album. That is the album, I suppose, isn't it? The album from an act named NinémiA titled Weapons of Math Destruction with the track Full. Now, if I was to hazard a guess at what Full was about, some of the lyrics came through a bit more clearly than others. There was one part I heard about, like, false pride and how we spent a lot of time under that. And I get the impression that maybe we're looking through the entire journey we've had within this album. And even though we were glad that we managed to find our own way with Astrofield and find our way towards a place that we were maybe potentially better off with, we were still kind of coping with the fact that we spent so long in that previous state of mind. We were kind of locked into that, and we kind of we were annoyed or upset that we had to deal with that, and we regret it. I think that that's an interesting kind of somber way to finish an album, is to accept that there's growth, but also to still feel bad about that. I think that's a normal thing, because human beings are complicated. And that's if I've got the track and what it's about. If I haven't, then just feel free to sort of like ignore it, because I guess I've misconstrued it. But if that is what it's about, it makes sense, because this entire album seems like a journey. We're not at the conclusion yet. And I am aware that this review's been very long, so I will try and keep the conclusion section as not short for the sake of me wanting to make it like brief and like lacking in detail, but just because it's been a long video, you know. I want to make sure it's to the point and concise. But with this track, it had a similar kind of feel to the previous one, Astrofield, where we had less of the crazy fast guitar riffs and different stuff like that. It was more chordal. It was the drummer, you know, clearly there were a lot of different sort of grooves and shifts and patterns and stuff. And the drums did not necessarily, they didn't get easier, if that makes sense. Like, as a drummer myself, I can hear what we're playing, and those are complicated beats, right? But we took our time with them. The tempo was a bit slower. We didn't have quick changes between like normal and half time and double time and stuff like that. It was a steady kind of pace. Well, we might have, but they weren't as severe or like as forward, if that makes sense. We weren't trying to be as flamboyant with it. It was more of a kind of a, I think there was like a part where there's a choir after that initial kind of like admission of like the false pride and stuff like that, where we kind of had the choir overlooking us as we dealt with that realization, that epiphany. It was interesting to have the track structured like this. At 5 minutes 34, it flew by as per most of the tracks within this album. It's great. I think that the playing in general was nice and tight there. There was a nice organic feel to the drums and guitars and bass and how they came together. I feel like there was another instrument as well. To be fair, there was quite a bit of focus on like the kind of marching drums and kind of buzz rolls and stuff like that. I appreciate the fact that we had those in there. It was more so like we're commiserating with the situation there. It was more kind of contemplative, as if we weren't trying to sort of move forward as much as we used to before. We've done a lot of that moving and we've kind of figured stuff out. Or maybe we had and we're still undecided, but at least we're trying to find a solution in the first place by, you know. But either way, again, the production was tight in this one. And there were different, we had a similar tempo throughout. We changed the groups. This is comments I made throughout. We're just going to go to the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this album from an act named NinémiA, titled Weapons of Math Destruction. What do I think this album is about in general? I think this album is encouraging you to be more careful and aware of what you believe, to stand up for your rights, to fight for what you believe in, to not get drawn into the BS with other people, to not just act like others because you feel it's appropriate to do so. I think it's trying to encourage you to be sort of critically analyze stuff, to kind of look to move forward and upwards, you know, to try and reach for the stars, but in like not a cheesy way, but like try and explore your ambition and the possibilities in a way that's sort of healthy and kind of nice. And like the Weapons of Math Destruction, where like humanity destroys itself again and again and again by, you know, tricking people into being feared and then like getting them to do anything because of that. You have the Grand Grimoire, which is like more of an admission of like the terrible stuff we can do if we're allowed to do so. With Oppenheimer eventually being the culmination of that with the atomic bomb and I Am Death, Destroyer of Worlds. We then come to Selma, and we talk about it's just the conclusion of all this resulting from people just being shifted and melded and kind of mutated and all this kind of stuff into like whatever shape they need to be, with us eventually trying to sort of break past that with Astrofield, and eventually at the end having that realization that even though we're probably glad that we're kind of breaking away from a lot of that stuff, or maybe the Astrofield was the false pride or something like that, maybe we never got past it, but it's just that acknowledgement of us being a fool and stuff like that, and we even if things have improved, we still spent quite a while in that previous headspace. I think this is introspective. I think this is quite personal to NinémiA and the people involved in this. I also think that it's done in a way which is quite academic, quite it's really intelligent and creative, and I appreciate the stories. Like Weapons of Mass Destruction had the voiceovers from like Kennedy and Martin Luther King and the people talking about the Pearl Harbor stuff, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and like the Russia, like taking down the walls and stuff like that, and the walls, the Berlin Wall or something like that, and like Russia and the communists, you know what I mean, like the things throughout history where things repeat but they don't necessarily change. It's just fair in different forms. I think that the stories, even we didn't have a singer on top, we had spoken parts such as in Oppenheimer as well, were equally powerful. The stories, they separated each track. They were each quite unique. I could understand what was going on for the most part, and I do appreciate that. But the singing was tremendous. The vocalist in this band had a really solid understanding of the kind of clean singing there without any vocal fry. When we did have vocal fry, it was fantastic, and our growly parts were awesome as well. We had phenomenal control over our technique. Our breathing was fantastic. The words did come through clearly a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time. We also had some like lady vocalists or something on the sides, occasionally kind of chanting stuff. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't get a lot of those words through clearly, but the singer, the main singer in the center of the stereo field, I could often get that through clearly, and I appreciate that clarity there. I think we picked a lot of really interesting melodies and harmonies, and we always seem to know how to seg into the backing kind of progressions and stuff in a way that was really sort of satisfying. We knew how to articulate ourselves and also harmonize with the backing parts and just create a really nice all-around experience that was incredibly expressive. You know, we had a wide range of emotions shown, and it felt like I was listening to a performance. I'm sure these guys, if they got the chance to do a live gig at some point, I know that there are people from like around the world and stuff like that involved in it, but like if they got to a live performance, it'd be absolutely sick. Yeah, the singer could sing. Their pipes were fantastic. We had great vocal technique and a head and chest voice there, and we just nailed it. No complaints whatsoever. I could understand typically how what we were talking about made sense with the lyrics, like the way we sung, how it translated to the lyrics. There was a connection there. The tracks themselves, though, man, like we had songs from 4 to almost 12 minutes, and that's way outside of the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot that I typically had for tracks. They get away with it, though. The reason they get away with it is because they can write music really well. And I don't remember any points where there was any filler whatsoever. There were no points in this entire album where I was like, we don't need this riff. This is superfluous. We didn't have that situation because there were like, for most of the tracks in the first half of the album, there were like 10 to 12 different ideas that we just segged through, just boom, boom, boom. If we came back to it, we made it matter. We had they were catchy and compelling. Some parts were frenetic and chaotic. Other parts were kind of whimsical and kind of really kind of unpredictable with the melodies and stuff because we weren't afraid to put like kind of chromatics and accidentals in there. We understood our scales, modes, our fundamentals of music theory and composition. The chord shapes and the progressions we had were tremendous as well. And the instrument performances were solid as well. Lots of different lead sections well littered and amongst the different verse and chorus parts. We were not afraid to have instruments just be instruments. And again, we did not have singing in every track. Sometimes we had instrumentals coupled with like samples of different people talking, like famous people and stuff. If I was to talk about a few of my favorite instruments within this track, with the understanding that if I was to talk about each of these 10 tracks and specifically go through like the individual instruments within each, just like an all-around kind of overthought, like the drums were amazing. The percussionist is sensational, And I'm not saying it because I feel the need to be nice. I listen to it and I think, wow, there was, I can't hear a single note that was out of place there. We're like a living metronome. We had a phenomenal understanding of like quarters, eighths, triplets, and sixteenths. We explored the drum kit in its totality. We understood when to go quiet and when to go loud. We have phenomenal control of dynamic range. We played a wide variety of different styles, like kind of dance beats to rock to kind of blues, kind of groove to like metal, kind of black metal and stuff like that. We had ballady kind of drum beats as well. We had buzz rolls and all these other kind of things. And there was lots of different fills and lots of different beats. And there was just so much going on with the drums. We typically nailed it. The guitar playing as well was the other highlight for me outside of the vocals. And like we had just a sensational control of not only like with the cleaner guitars, like the strum parts and the arpeggios and such, some chorusy bits such as an Astrofield. We had like kind of different kind of lead lines darting between each other and coloring the frequency spectrum as well as the stereo field and all that kind of mid to higher end noise. But we also just had just this utterly wonderful rhythm work there that was just so, there was just so much variety there with the different riffs, the different power chord bits, the single string stuff, string skip stuff. We managed to put lead stuff in a way that made sense as rhythms. And then we just had these, like, we had breaks and lots, and the rhythm playing on the guitar was just as tight as the drums. Sometimes the guitars would, sync with the vocals and would kind of have harmony notes and stuff like that. I like that. I think it's just, I appreciate the fact as well that the solos on the guitar were often very tasteful, even if they were just ridiculous and just fast and kind of just you kind of struggle to keep up with it. It's just well handled. I mean, to be fair, the bass playing as well, the bassist could keep up with the guitar shred. It was just tremendous, and I liked, again, some of the bass solos that we had there. Other tracks, like I think in Weapons of Math Destruction, we had like bass solos and other tracks as well where there was distorted bass. It was freaky, man. It was really wonderful instrumental playing there. We had a great control over the instrument and a fundamental understanding of that too. We just had musicians who could really play, and they not only knew how to write music, but they also knew how to structure and put it together and interact with each other and give each other space when they needed it sometimes, and then come together for full bore. And it's great. I mean, there were other instruments as well. Like there was like a synth solo, like a key solo, and like the Acquired Savant, which is kind of slick as well. There were saxophone solos, there's woodwind parts as well, which are a bit more mellow and a bit less kind of dramatic. But that was kind of deliberate decision there, I think, to kind of make them smooth and kind of peaceful and colorful in the mid-range, and a nice foil to some of the harder distorted elements there. We even had turntablism in Psychotropic Plague. We had so much going on in that track. It was so much more chaotic instrumentally and compositionally at the start of the album than the end. I think it was because at the start of the album, we just had a whole lot of stuff going on, and maybe as we went later on, we kind of figured out what we were doing, and we kind of became more at peace with who we are in our journey and our direction there. So I think that in regards to the general performance instrumentally and how everything was put together and how the different parts came together, I think that there was a general progression there that I just spoke about, and that made the album kind of work together. And because there was a kind of an A to B thing, I like this album because it makes sense to me. It doesn't seem like disjointed with each track kind of being unrelated. You went with it, you stuck with it, and even though the ending was kind of unresolved and I still haven't really figured out where we're at with it, it doesn't matter because it feels like we got to a point where this is just maybe just act one and then the next album is act two, you know? But yeah, the themes overall were too varied to discuss. I think that there was a magic to this album. I think that there was so many different concepts and motifs that we really just never struggled to handle things. We wanted this to be a big progressive adventure. It was a big journey from start to finish, and we typically chose chords and rhythms and melodies and different ways of expressing ourselves through instruments and the voice that made sense with the lyrics. When we were a bit sort of more like kind of a little bit sort of like more vulnerable, like an Astrofield, a lot of the other instruments were more sort of gentle and stuff like that. And other parts were like Psychotropic Plague, were like, it was kind of crazy, and it was like this idea and this idea and this idea. It was more chaotic as well. We had like twos and fros, weapons and math destruction at 11 minutes 40. It was just this gigantic jam session where we managed to sort of like show how well and tightly we could play the entire time. But it was also the fact that we managed to make that work with the voiceovers. I don't know how they did that, man. It's just, it's wonderful. The themes I talked about in the individual track conclusions, but it's just, I don't think there's a note out of place. This is one of the strongest instrumental performances the vocals are the icing on the cake. And the studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering is also, I suppose, the icing on the cake. There's a lot of icing, but man, the vocals were nice and crystal clear. For the most part, there were some parts I couldn't get through clearly, but I think that's just maybe just because there was a lot of other stuff I was focusing on at the time. The guitars, bass, drums, keys, the synths, any other parts there, like the saxophone or the woodwinds or the turntables and whatever, they were nicely niched in a frequency spectrum and a stereo field. And there were some parts like the guitars kind of went to and fro, like that was kind of dope as well. Some parts we filtered, things kind of came up and like blast beats and such. We played around with the expectations of the listener. We didn't have things balanced all the time either in the stereo field. Sometimes we'd have more focus energy on one end and then we'd bring in the other, and it'd be very satisfying. There was dynamic range for sure. Things are not the same loudness all the time. And it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting was handled. And the singer could sing, so there's no post-processing or anything like that. They just could sing really well. I mean, look, this is just a tremendously positive review of this album from NinémiA titled Weapons of Math Destruction. And, hopefully you enjoyed it. Please do go check them out via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.